Walks with Moss. Today we are going mushroom hunting. It hasn't been that great of a mushroom year, and I really want enough chanterelles to at least can one batch, because I don't like to store too much food in my freezer. Freezers are prone to failure, and I haven't had good luck dehydrating chanterelles, so I really want enough to make it worthwhile to fire up the pressure cooker. And so far, each time I go hunting, I find maybe a gallon, which once boiled down is just like nothing because all the water, you know, that comes out of chanterelles. So I've been putting a few batches at a time in my freezer, but I really would like to get enough to can. Here we have the mushroom Lactarius deliciosus, and it's edible and it tastes okay. And if there's nothing else to eat, I will pick them. They tend to get kind of buggy. They're a fun mushroom though, because when they're stained, they turn red and then they turn green. It's pretty fascinating the changes these go through. Even if I am going to take these, I won't take them now because they just don't travel well. But I'm checking for worms here in the stem. This one does not seem wormy. Okay. Here's our old friend Lacaria lucata. There's not even that many of these out here this year. It was just so dry this summer. And we finally got the rains now. But we're so close to it being time for the first frost that even now that we're starting to get a few mushrooms, it's just not possible really for this to be a good mushroom year. It got down to 35 last night. That's in freedom units. 32 in Fahrenheit is freezing. So that was pretty close to freezing. But here in the woods, it's a bit more sheltered. But I don't know how much longer we have before we get a hard frost here in the woods. We'll see. Hey Bella, having fun? What you sniffing? What you sniffing? What's down there under that baby hemlock tree? Here is what I think is a bolete. I'll pull it up and see. Yeah, it's a bolete. I forget. I think this one's a swillus. A different kind of swillus. I forget. I D'd this one last year, but now I forget. Maybe I'll eat it. But I would really rather find a bunch of chanterelles to eat. Over here we've got our phony Matsutake. Amanita smithii or something along that lines. I heard them called something different last year, but I've always called these Amanita smithii. Deadly poison, and they grow where Matsutake grow. And they even look a little bit like Matsutake when they first come up. There's a bunch of them right there. There's a raven up there in the tree. It was making clicking noises at us, but now it's left. We're about ready to head into the woods here. I think I hear a leaf blower way off in the distance. I hope that noise stops. Okay, I've got a few waypoints back here, and hopefully I actually waypointed that giant chanterelle patch I found. I'm not sure if I did or not. But we're just going to head back in here and just really thoroughly scour these woods and see if we can get a few more miles in this week. I haven't got my goal yet this week, and this isn't going to get it for me. I'll have to do a big hike next week. So yeah, we're just going to wander way back deep in here and see what we can see. I'm determined today. Oh, is that? No. That's a yellow leaf. Okay. I'll turn this video back on if I find something. I know I'll find something, but will I find enough to can? That's the question. Here's a little patch of our Chanterelles formosus. Or is it Formosa? Not a whole lot here, but I'll go ahead and grab these. I'm sure if I kept at it all day, I could find enough little patches for this, maybe even to get enough to can. But I'd much prefer to find a big patch. We got, I don't know, 5 or 6 in here. It's a start. And then over here I found what at first I thought was the yellowfoot chanterelle, and it still might be, but it seemed a little too gilly for me. I don't know, sometimes these confuse me. It looks like a yellowfoot, and it's got the umbilical there, and it's growing out of wood. But I don't know, it doesn't look just right to me. It might be something else. Those gills seem a little too gilly instead of like veins. But I don't know. I do this every year, get confused about whether or not these are yellowfoots. I think I'll just leave them be. I think it still might be a little bit early for yellowfoots too. Let's carry on and see if we can find a bigger, better patch. There's a little bit of a trail here, so that is probably a route I would have followed before, following the path of least resistance. Probably an animal trail. We got another Lacterius deliciosus down there. I've got a waypoint marked 229 feet away that says yellows, and I think that's yellow chanterelles as opposed to white chanterelles. I don't think that means yellowfoots. My GPS won't let me use the same waypoint name twice. It's kind of an older GPS, but I really like it. Okay, how far away are we now? 260 feet and climbing. Okay. My GPS does get a bit confused in these woods. So do I, for that matter. Okay, now the numbers are going down, but it's pointing me in a totally different direction again, so I'm going to ignore the arrow because my GPS is bouncing around so much and just watch the numbers. But even that isn't helping. Wow. 248 feet. But my GPS is bouncing all over the place. GPS says we're within 50 feet of a big patch of mushrooms, but it's bouncing all over. Now it's saying 69, 66. Might need to just sit still for a little bit to get the GPS to settle down. I don't know. 65. But at one point, right where I was just standing, it was reading 35. So it's pretty close to time to just put the GPS down. 62. Oh, it is so frustrating when the GPS bounces around like this. 82. Just really not very helpful. 70. Go back this way. 64. 42. 38. 34. 30. 26. I see a chanterelle. Here we go. I think I found the spot. But there's only a few here because it's not that great of a year. This had to have been a super, super massive patch last year for me to have marked it because it was such a good year. I'm glad the GPS led me back to this patch, but that was a lot of work for 3 mushrooms, especially considering how low they are in calories. Oh well. Every year cannot be an amazing chanterelle year. Okay, I'm quite turned around now too. Need to look at my GPS, and yeah, I'm pretty turned around. That's fine though, I'll find my way out. Even without my GPS, I would find my way out. Yeah, 14 feet, we're at the spot. I would find my way out anyway because there's not very far you can walk here without hitting a road. Okay, where am I? Alright, let's look at some other waypoints. Late patch, patch of yellows. I'm at late patch. Candy caps. Big candy caps. Candy caps. Candy caps. Not a lot of chanterelle waypoints. Here's one though. It's 0.13 miles away. Go to off-road. And I think it's back in the direction we came. So I don't think we'll be looking for that. We are headed for another waypoint, which I think is chanterelles. I didn't label it, but it's the right color. And I'm putting my GPS down for now though. And I'm just going to try to walk in the right general direction. And here's a few more chanterelles here. Okay, I have found the area where there were so many chanterelles last year I didn't even bother trying to pick them. We're right on top of it. I found the right waypoints in my GPS. Sometimes the waypoints get named when I transfer them from my phone to renamed when I transfer them from my phone to my GPS. So we're 66 feet away, and I've got my GPS working better. I took it out of battery saver mode, so it's bouncing around a little bit less now. So yeah, 65 feet. Looks like back in here I have a ton. Oh boy, that looks like a dangerous place to step. We jump across. I have a ton of waypoints back in here. Most of them say things like giant mushroom patch. And these woods are starting to look familiar too. Very familiar. Yep. Kind of recognize this area. As soon as I turned the video off, I found some chanterelles. But also, I'm thinking this waypoint, one of the waypoints that I'm looking at here is actually for candy caps. I'm back in my candy cap area. But I know I found the giant chanterelle patch the same day I was candy cap hunting. So I'm in the right zone. Let's grab these and keep looking. I'm in another spot that I marked as a giant chanterelle patch, but I'm not seeing anything other than these lacterias here. Yeah, my dreams of finding enough to can are fading. They are definitely fading. Oh, there's a blue ribbon here in the tree. Probably mine, since we're right on top of one of my patches. But no chanterelles. I've checked all my waypoints, at least all the ones that I haven't already checked in the last week or two. Oh, we got a helicopter overhead, I guess. I'm gonna head back to the area I was in earlier that looked more chanterelle-y, because this here is more of a candy cap area with the hazelnut trees. And I don't really care about candy caps this year. I didn't notice anything special about them. That doesn't mean I won't pick them, because they're a late season mushroom and they come on when there aren't a lot of other mushrooms, so maybe I'll pick them just for something to do, but I'm not as intrigued by them as I used to be. They just, I don't know. They didn't seem that sweet, they didn't seem that mapley, and I'm sure I got the ID right. So maybe it's just the ones that grow here. I've got a waypoint I'm really close to that's marked Chanterelle Heaven. And I think it's going to be straight back into those bushes there, so I'm trying to find an easy way to get in there. I'm wondering how I ever got in there before. I suspect I didn't come in this way. That wasn't too bad. Okay, if I mark it as Chanterelle Heaven, then it's got to be a really exceptional spot. So fingers crossed. 40 feet. 35 feet. Okay, we are there. We are arriving in Chanterelle Heaven. And this waypoint was made November 13th of last year. Okay, where are you? There's nothing chanterelle or heavenly I'm seeing here. Wow. I would expect at least see something. Because Chanterelle Heaven is a label I reserve for spots that are just off the walls with chanterelles. Nothing. Nothing at all. Right on top of it too. Oh well. Oh well. Back to wandering around aimlessly. I really had high hopes for that one. That's the first of my old waypoints that I've walked straight to and found absolutely nothing. Nothing. Wow. Okay, I'm going to check a spot that was really good last year, but I've already been there once this year. But I guess it's been about a week. So I'm going to check it again, and in the meantime, I just might be desperate enough to take these. Actually, I love these. I love shrimp russulas, but they don't travel well. Here is a beautiful Amanita muscaria, or fly agaric. These are apparently hallucinogenic, and they're shaman stuff. Not something most people want to mess with. Definitely I don't want to mess with them. But an interesting thing is they're often associated with king boletes. And there is an orange tag on this tree back here, so we'll just look real quick. Try to see what this tag is about. Probably nothing though. Yeah, nothing. Oh, here's a decent looking shrimp. Although it might be something else because it's really bright red. No, I think it's a shrimp. But it's pretty pithy. Probably wormy. I'll leave it be. I really like to be really close to the end of my hike before I collect those. Here's the spot that I picked a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. And there are some coming back. They're really little though. I kind of hesitate to harvest them. Oh, I see a bigger one back in there though. Don't know if I'm coming back here or not this year, so maybe I'll go ahead and grab these. But it'd be smarter to wait a little bit, I think. Maybe even just a couple of days on these little ones. Yeah, maybe just grab this big one I saw over here and then come back here in a week. This is interesting to see how quickly they go back. Let's see if I can focus in on some of these little ones that are going back. See right here. And here. And there. And there. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Are these big enough to take or not? Hey, maybe they are. Yeah, these are big enough to take. And we've got an inch of rain forecast tomorrow, so if I leave them behind, they're going to be soggy and waterlogged and probably ruined. So yeah, going to go ahead and take them. I've never lost very many groceries in the freezer due to power outages, just mostly because I don't keep much in the freezer, not much more than I could eat quickly if the power did go out, because I could cook up things on my camp stove still. I guess if the power went out with a freezer full of mushrooms, I could go out and have a campfire and water bath them for like 3 hours, but that's not really something I want to do. So I'd rather process them while I have electricity and can pressure can. For chanterelles, I pressure can them for 45 minutes, and I pack them really loosely. There's no guide for pressure canning or canning chanterelles at all. USDA hasn't tested canning wild mushrooms, so they won't tell us that it's safe to do, which means we're on our own. But I've been for years now pressure canning them for 45 minutes, no problems. I walked back in here to get around an obstruction on the trail, and what did I find? A little patch of chanterelles. All right, let's grab these. Fee 5 foliota growing on a log. There we go, foliota. I don't know the exact variety. Maybe squarosum? Because look at the scales on those stems. They grow out of logs. Hey, where's my faithful dog? And apparently they're not very good to eat. And they don't smell very good when they're cooking. But they sure are pretty to see in the woods. We are out of the cauliflower! But it's a baby. Ho-ho! Looky here. Little baby cauliflower. I wonder if I should leave it to grow. I'm in a spot where I don't think it's too likely to be found. Although there's some rotten bits there. Oh man, what do you think? Is this going to grow some more, or is this it? No slugs. I think this might be about as big as this is going to get, but That's not really big enough to pick, is it? Sparaspus crispa, cauliflower, one of my favorites, and I never ever find it when I'm looking for it. Even though it's one of my favorites, I think I'll leave it behind because it's so small, and there's a chance that maybe it'll grow some more. I don't think the chance is very good, but yeah. Is it really enough to harvest? I don't think so. Nah. I'll leave it here and mark it, and I'll come back in a week and see if it's any bigger. Cool. As I was saying, we're out of the chanterelle zone and we're into like the lobster mushroom zone, but I didn't realize we were in the cauliflower mushroom zone. Very cool. Bye-bye cauliflowers. Grow big. I'll be back next week to check on you. Grow big. Cauliflower is a late season mushroom, so there is a chance it'll keep growing. I accidentally broke one of them off excavating around it, so I'll go ahead and take it home. But I'll leave this one, and I'm marking it on my GPS, and I've averaged the waypoint 49 times, so I should be able to come right back here. I guess that's a good compromise too. Take one and leave one. So at least I'll get a little taste of cauliflower mushroom this year. And I'll find out if it's wormy, because if it's already wormy, then there's no point in coming back later. These tend to get really wormy. Just never know. All right, a cauliflower for the bag. Here's some beautiful Hyphiloma fasciculare. Aren't they gorgeous? They're poison, but they're gorgeous. And apparently I didn't need to worry about accidentally eating them last year when I was looking for capnoides, Hyphiloma capnoides, because apparently these poison ones are really bitter. And so probably no one will ever actually get poisoned by them because they're too bitter to eat. I have mixed feelings about leaving the chanterelle zone because I want more chanterelles, but it is kind of fun to see some other mushrooms too. And right at the very end of this, I think is a spot where I've found chanterelles before, so maybe there'll be some. I have a pot of chanterelles in the refrigerator that I cooked down halfway. They're all ready to be canned. I was hoping to add enough today to get a batch, but I don't think so. So instead I think I'll just take those ones in the fridge and cook them down all the way and put them in the freezer. Here's a great big Russula brevipies coming into view. Let's see if it's fresh enough to harvest. No, it is not. Look at all those spores it threw on the ground though. We're back in an area where you might think you'd find chanterelles because there's Douglas fir. But actually these Douglas fir are a little big. I mostly find chanterelles in the second growth Douglas fir that is smaller than this stuff. I have not found any clavulina yet this year. I would think that would be coming along pretty soon. I guess that's more of a winter mushroom, but still I feel like I should be finding it by now. Now I'm looking for cauliflower mushrooms, so that means I definitely won't find any. Russula brevipies. Here's a couple of chanterelles right here. One of them, the first one I looked at, was too far gone. This one is not a chanterelle. Maybe the other one wasn't either. This is a pine spike. The second half of the name is tomentosa. That's the first half of the name. It's not Comphidius. What is it? Need to look at my reference books again. This is a pretty mushroom. It doesn't taste good, but it always makes me kind of happy to find it. Something or other tomentosa. Not a chanterelle. It didn't really make sense for it to be a chanterelle back in here. Isn't this a gorgeous area though? I found a bunch of lobster mushrooms back here last year. Rotten ones. And I don't eat lobster mushrooms now that I know that Russula brevipies taste just as good. And they're a lot less wormy and nasty. But I collected them to give to a friend who does mushroom dyes. We have walked just shy of 2.5 miles now, and we have less than a gallon of chanterelles. And I've checked some spots that were really, really good last year. I've got another spot just up here that we're going to check that was also really good last year. I don't think it's going to be that good, and I've actually already checked this spot once this year and didn't find anything. But that was before we got all that rain last week. So let's see if we have any luck up here. There are a few here, just like all the other places where I found lots last year. There's a few, so we'll grab a few of these. I found 3 or 4 mushrooms here. That's it. I think there's one more right here though. Yeah, one more right here. It's off a little though. Yeah, that's it. And this is all we have so far. Maybe a gallon at most. At least we've got some. I mean, there's been years where I couldn't find any, almost couldn't find any chanterelles. So it could be a worse year. It's just kind of a letdown after last year when it was just so insane. But the year before last, I struggled so hard just to find a single chanterelle. So I think this year is actually slightly better than the year before last. Over here we've got some more lactaria. These are big ones. I do love how these change color from red to green. Kind of spooky. We're about to break out of the woods here, back onto a road where there's even less chance of finding mushrooms. I found some man on horseback back in here last year though, so maybe we'll find that on the way out. Here's some chanterelles here, but they're kind of too little to take. And even though they're little, you can tell they're kind of old too, because they're just like, they've got stuff embedded in them. Let's grab this one. Make sure it's not rotten on the bottom. Yeah, this one's got some right cobwebby, some kind of mold growing on it, even though it's little. So I guess it came up and then got stunted because it was too dry. So this is probably as big as these are actually going to get. That's a shame. Yeah, there's just some sort of cobwebby mold on there. I don't think it'll show up on the GoPro at all. I can barely even see it with my reading glasses. It's time to sit down and have a cup of coffee. I love this thermos that I got in New Zealand. It's just lasting really well, and it's not even as scraped up as it should be considering how many miles I've put on it. This is a cool thermos. And it keeps stuff really hot. It's always kind of a toss-up which is going to be more energy to carry, a cook set and fuel, or a thermos that's already got hot water in it. Cheers, everyone. What's up, buddy? Bella came back in a rush. Maybe she lost me for a little while. Bella, you're just a little bit wet. Do you know that? Just soaked. But at least she's not muddy. Hopefully we don't find any swamps on this hike. Okay, ready to go? Oh, you're such a good dog. Yeah, you're such a good dog. Such a good dog. Okay, let's go. I think we're going to brush crash through here. Apparently it's not very far. And it looks like an area where one might find chanterelles. And it would be interesting to connect up these two areas. Actually, you know what? I think there's a little trail here. There's a little animal trail, I think, here. So the animals must go through here to go from one road to another. It's not looking as much like a chanterelle area all of a sudden, though. It's a little too open. But even if I don't find any chanterelles, it will be really fun to connect these two areas together up here for the first time. I always think these open mossy areas are the place to go to look for chanterelles, but I never really find them in these kind of areas. It's more in the salal, so I should probably actually be going that way. But it looks easier to walk this way. But hey, if I'm out here for mushrooms, I should go the mushroom way instead of the way that looks easiest to walk. So let's go up here into the brush. I don't hear Bella. I don't know where Bella is. Bella! Where are you? I hear her now. She doesn't have any clothes on, so she's probably safe. I should probably even take her collar off when I take her hiking. Anything you put on a dog can potentially get tangled up in the brush. Bella, where are you, buddy? I hear panting. Come here, buddy. Come on. You having fun? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. She lives for this. She lives for this. Well, maybe we can miraculously stumble upon the world's biggest chanterelle patch. Well, it's not the world's biggest patch, but there's definitely a few here. And considering what a scant year this is, if there's this many of them here, which is like 5 or 6, then on a good year there'd probably be a gallon here. Okay, let's grab them. Look at the size of this chanterelle. And this chanterelle is notable not just because of its size, but also because it's the only one here. That is just so unusual to only find one chanterelle. What a beauty it is, though. If they were all this big, I'd have enough to can quickly. Wow, what a gorgeous one. Look at that. But yeah, no others in the area. So strange. This monster chanterelle must be even more of an anomaly than I thought. Apparently it's the only chanterelle within a quarter mile. I've been brush crashing through the woods now well over a quarter mile just to go a quarter mile because I've been taking a roundabout route, and I have not seen another chanterelle. I'm about to come out onto another road in a spot where I found a few chanterelles last year. Maybe I'll find 1 or 2 there this year. We'll see. At least I'm getting my exercise. We are 120 feet from the road now. I didn't bring my phone with me on purpose. It's kind of nice to be off the internet for a little bit. Incommunicado. 109 feet. I think I probably don't need my GPS at this point. If I just follow the path of least resistance, I think I will get there. As soon as I get there, I'll check for more mushrooms. And if there aren't any there, then this one's going to go in the bag. 113 feet. Oh, here we go. There's the road. Okay. And an old barrel. Yuck. Yuck. That is so gross. Yuck. Okay. Whew. Well, it's been quite an adventure today. I might go over here and find a pretty spot to have a cup of coffee, and then I'm going to walk back to my starting point without very many mushrooms. I think it's time to give up. When I get back to some place where I know no one will see me, I'll spread out my haul and let you see what I got. But until then, I think I'm just gonna hike back and put the camera away. What do you think, Bella? Did you have fun? Yes, you did. Yes, you did. We are back home. Here's how many chanterelles we got for all that effort. And we walked 3.6 miles, which is good. And I feel good about getting outside again. I feel motivated. Hopefully I can get in another hike this week, but probably not. We'll see. I'm thinking about actually going fishing today. Anyway, I'm going to get these washed up, and then I'll add them to these ones I have in here that have been cooked down. And then I decided, I think what I'm going to do, even though I might not have enough chanterelles to warrant firing up the pressure cooker, I do have a 20-pound pumpkin. I can chop that into cubes and pressure cook it at the same time as the chanterelles. And then I'll have enough to fill up the pressure cooker and make it worthwhile. Plus I'll have a bunch of pumpkin pie filling. Okay, thanks for watching. I don't really want to turn the camera back on myself because I've got like pine needles in my hair and I'm just, ugh. I've been brush crashing, so let me see. Yeah, here, I just pulled this out of my hair. So thanks for watching, and maybe we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.